Hello, and welcome to the webinar entitled School-Based Strategies for Medicaid Outreach, Connecting Children and Families to Medicaid Coverage. My name is Kim Moore, and this webinar is sponsored by the IAASC Medicaid Committee and the Embrace Software Company. I want to thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to participate with this webinar. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the Embrace website under the blog section and also on the IAASC website under the website resource tab. Since this webinar is being recorded, I will not be able to take any questions during the presentation. My contact information is included at the end of this presentation, so feel free to contact me later with any questions that you may have regarding the webinar. Everyone that registered for the webinar was sent an email today that included a copy of the PowerPoint that you can utilize to follow along throughout this presentation. If you did not receive an email, please feel free to contact me after the presentation to obtain a copy of the PowerPoint for future reference. So before we jump into the technical regulations regarding Medicaid and Medicaid outreach, I wanted to set the stage for the real purpose of Medicaid outreach and the life-changing benefits Medicaid coverage has in the lives of the children who attend our public schools. A research study by the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities revealed that Medicaid coverage has a significant positive impact not only on the child's health, but also on their educational success and future employment. Children covered by Medicaid during their childhood are more likely to have better health as adults, experience fewer hospitalizations and emergency room visits, are more likely to graduate from high school and college, and have higher wages and pay more in taxes as adults. While there are other benefits to school districts in Illinois for connecting children to Medicaid coverage, the most important thing to keep in mind is the positive, life-changing outcomes it has for kids. So just putting that up front before we get started, just knowing that what we're doing today and learning about all of this is really, it does have a great impact for students. Okay, so looking at the agenda, we're going to start off first of all with understanding administrative outreach, getting some background information for that and how it connects to families getting services. And then we'll look at some strategies for informing and supporting families to gain access to Medicaid coverage. And then we'll just pull it all together and see how it all connects when we get through all the information today. To start off with, just to go over some basic concepts for administrative outreach in Illinois. So this is the data that came from the Health Service Administrative Claiming Guide. And it clearly states in here for Illinois that districts have a responsibility for providing information and support for Medicaid eligibility application process. And some of the items listed here include informing the parents about Medicaid services and referring them to the appropriate entity to make an application, explaining Medicaid eligibility rules and Medicaid eligibility process to the family, the child and the family, and assisting the child and family with filling out Medicaid and all kids eligibility application, assisting parents to begin the application process, providing any necessary forms that they may need in preparation for the eligibility determination, and then also just assisting the child and family in collecting required information and documents for the application. And again, this is all in the manual for outreach activities, but this just spells out how important it is and the responsibility districts have when they receive that administrative outreach funding, that a portion of that is for this purpose. So they have these regulations and the guidelines for administrative outreach, but how do they monitor or capture these outreach activities? So how it's currently handled in Illinois is through the Random Moment Time Study. And this is facilitated by the Fairbanks Company for the administrative claiming. So the Medicaid Administrative Claiming Program allows school districts to claim federal Medicaid reimbursement for activities related to the administration of the state's Medicaid plan, including costs associated with identifying individuals and families to service providers and coordinating and monitoring health services. So Fairbanks is the company that's contracted with the state of Illinois to complete this outreach program, to monitor it and have it in place. So the random moment in time study uses results to allocate expenditures and determine appropriate claiming under federal programs. The data is captured and coded based on the duties being performed at that moment. When they get the email at that specific time, your district staff will document exactly what they were doing at that moment. And then that information gets transferred to HFS for claim eligibility and approval. And that's the component that goes into generating the admin outreach funds for districts. So an example of how outreach services get captured is you may have a social worker that documents during her random moment time study that she was talking with a parent about Medicaid resources during that time, which would translate into an outreach service that would get recorded as a RMTS outreach activity for claiming purposes. So I just wanted to have everyone be able to understand that yes, Medicaid has regulations for outreach, and then it's all managed through the Fairbanks and the random moment time study. And that's where they try to capture that data and know that districts are performing some administrative outreach services for families. If you have any other questions regarding the administrative claiming process, I have a link here to Fairbanks. They have a great website. It's very informational and it's very user-friendly. You can understand information there. You can also reach out to your Medicaid vendor provider and they can assist you also with some information regarding the Medicaid administrative claiming process. But that's how that's connected to the outreach process for districts. So now that we have a little information about that, let's look at some specific strategies for informing and accessing Medicaid coverage for families to utilize. One thing that's important to stress is the school-family connection, because often Medicaid situations deal with families' financial information, maybe some hardships that they're going through. It's very confidential and personal. So it's important to realize that families trust the school professionals with their privacy, and they feel that there's a trusted place they can go to. They also know that the schools have a relationship with their child, and they see them every day. And some families have already gotten communications either through the classroom teacher or the principal or other district staff that are in that work with their child. So they know that they know their child. It's not just a stranger, they're meeting with out of the blue. The other thing that parents rely on is that the district staff are very knowledgeable. And if they're not sure of something, they know how to find that information. So there is that definite level of trust there and that professional trust that parents have with the schools. Another important component with that school-family connection in relation to outreach activities is that the schools already have a built-in communication system, whether that be through social media sites, the school websites, electronic newsletters, however that may be being conducted now. Parents definitely have that connection and that communication with the school. So putting information on that and including it in the communication systems that are already in place for outreach activities would be very beneficial. So strategies for informing families about Medicaid coverage. And there's an amazing website that they have. It's called the Application for Benefits Eligibility in Illinois. I actually want to show you this website, what this looks like. So this is the website, and families can log on to here onto this website, and they have lots of options to to go through to help support them and navigate this whole process. The first thing they have here is the screening tool. So they can check on here to see, would I apply for any benefits in Illinois? And it comes up with this screen and it tells them what coverage and resources may be available to them. How long will it take? Is my information secure? And it just walks them through, and they can click on the next button, and it just takes them frame by frame through a screening tool. So they can, have some type of an idea, will I qualify, won't I, that type of thing. So that is a resource for families there. Another resource they have is if they actually want to apply, is right here is the link to access the application in Illinois. So that is right there. Again, it has really good information. They click on that. It walks them through frame by frame, tells them how to navigate the system. So that's a great resource to have right there on the front website. And if they qualify and they do receive benefits, they can actually manage their case information through the website as well. So it's a very comprehensive website, and all families are directed to this website to actually fill out that application for Medicaid eligibility. Again, it has a lot of information here that families can look over, and there's a great Q&A document that they have on the website. And if they also have this resource information here that they have a phone number you can call, that families can call if they want to fill out the application over the phone. So they can call that number. And there's also links here to other state partners in Illinois that families can investigate for other resources. So it really is an amazing option for families to be able to access this website. So making sure that we're informing the families of that is essential. And part of that, and some opportunities to consider as some strategies to think about, is that maybe during preschool screenings, there can be information available for parents just to pick up on their own without having to have a face-to-face conversation. Maybe during parent-teacher conferences, that's another time when the parents are in the schools and there's that strong connection going on. And it may be even where in the school office there can be some informational type, brochures that list the information for Medicaid access. Another option, I know a lot of district websites have like a parent resource tab on their district website. This would be an amazing place to post the link to the AID website, is under that parent section on the school website. So it just allows lots of opportunities to make sure that the families who need the information are able to access it and be able to make some decisions from there. So I did contact the people from the AID website. They did not have a specific brochure. They just said they direct everyone to the school to the AID website. So I just did this one as a sample for some districts. If you want to have something that you can print off and have ready just to hand out, it just has a screenshot of the website. It lists the actual website itself, the number that they can call, and you can potentially list, if you have a district contact person that would be assisting families, you can list their contact information there. Again, it's just a sample. You guys can utilize this however you want, or just direct people, but it's just an idea to have if you just want to have something on hand to hand out to parents, in a quick moment. All right, the next part of the regulation stated regarding the district's responsibility to assist families with accessing Medicaid coverage. So you inform them about it, make sure that they know it's out there, but then if they do utilize that and they're interested and have a need, how do districts assist families with accessing that? Typically, the district personnel who work with families during these types of situations, they're either the school nurse, the school social worker, counselor, or school psychologist. So having them trained and informed about how to support the families through this process is essential. And another great resource that is available. Here is a PDF copy that can be printed off, and providers can have it in their offices, available to pull at a moment's notice to support families. You can give a copy to families. What it is, it's just a step-by-step guide on how to access the website and to go through the application process. Again, it just really clearly spells out certain things for staff that they can help explain to families. They do utilize a lot of screenshots, how to set up an account in there. It explains a lot of the information behind this process, from what kind of information is going to be required to put on the website, about how long will it take to complete the application, that an interview will be required for specific benefits that they may be eligible for. And it has all this information is available. So this guide and it walks them through. You start filling it out. How does that work? So they have this resource to help families walk them through the process. And some families may want to work with the school personnel to have them go through the whole process to make sure that they've done it correctly, or maybe they don't have computer access at home and they need some assistance with that. Maybe even just printing this off and giving it to parents who want to go on their own and do it at a different time. But at least now you guys know they have this information available, and it can definitely be used to support your district staff when it comes to being able to support families that are in need and need assistance. So that's a resource that is available there. There's a link on this page of the presentation, and it's also on the resource page at the end. But again, that just helps explain the application process, assisting with the application on the website, and then submitting the application. So there's some great resources that are available for district staff to engage in those types of activities, outreach activities, or parental support. Another important strategy to consider as a district is developing an internal referral process. And this would be extremely beneficial in the cases where you have maybe a parent will come into the school office and say, I just lost my job. I can't pay the lunch fees that are due. I'm not sure where to go or what to do. Or maybe during a parent-teacher conference, a parent shares with the teacher some recent hardships, and the teacher becomes aware that the family is really struggling. So in those cases, having an internal referral process would be amazing, so those folks know right where to direct the parents to. So if you have that referral process in the school, then they can identify and assist families in need right away. So if you have a specific person in every building, that they're the contact for outreach services, and all the staff in that building know that that's the person that they can get the families connected to. And then train and inform staff of that district referral process, just making sure everyone knows how it's structured in your district, and then how that information is to be transferred. And then also consider developing a follow-up process to monitor, okay, our district staff talked to this family. What was the outcome of that? Did they file for an application? Did they get accepted? Just kind of monitoring that status, because then that will help you continue to refine your referral process. If you're not getting good outcomes, maybe there needs to be some adjustments to that referral process so we can get more and more families to the point where they're actually filling out the application and potentially becoming eligible. So that's just another strategy to keep in mind, is that internal referral process. Some additional strategies to think about at the district level is to do this educational component where you offer educational trainings for parents on the benefits and resources available to obtain Medicaid and other available resources. You can educate school staff on Medicaid basics and the district referral process. And here again, it's very important to stress that confidentiality. Often these moments that are dealing with families in need, it's very confidential, very private information. So if a parent shares information with a district staff person and you have that district referral process in place, then that district staff person knows exactly who to refer the family to, and that is the only person they talk to about that situation. And again, it's just keeping everything confidential and streamlined and protecting the family with that. So that referral process clearly outlines who do they go to with that information, and that's where the information sharing would stop for district staff. Another option to consider is to provide some educational trainings to the local PTA groups. A lot of your parent groups in some school communities have a very strong voice, and there may be a situation where a parent talks to a parent who talks to another parent, and they are made aware of a significant need for one of the families, and they know who to contact at the district. Again, how to be able to support the families and get them connected. It's just another layer of a safety net that can help capture and find the families and get them connected to services they may need. Another strategy is to look at coordinating with local community agencies to provide educational training sessions for parents regarding access to Medicaid coverage. There already are a lot of local agencies, especially in the urban and suburban areas, that provide a lot of parent educational trainings they offer for them, from Medicaid coverage to guardianship, all those different types of services they offer. So coordinating with them to see if they want to partner with the school to do an educational training. And then the school can also advertise those resources on their website under their parent resource section, to make sure that there's that knowledge is being shared, across the board and throughout the community. Again, the whole purpose is to get families that are in need connected to the coverage that will help them. So all these different ideas and supports are just certain ways you guys can look at this, from a district perspective, to see if any of this makes sense for you and your district. So kind of putting all this together, first and foremost, as we stated from the very beginning, the benefit most of all is that children perform better in school and have better outcomes as adults. And that's the overarching goal of all educational facilities. So making sure that getting the needy families connected to the services they need so that it has the best outcomes for kids. That's the biggest benefit. And district staff members become better educated on resources available to families in need and coordinate educational opportunities for the community. So your district staff become much more confident when they're presented with situations that are very sensitive, and so often people aren't sure what to do with it, but then they'll have that knowledge and that background to be able to help get those families connected right away. So that's another benefit, that it will just definitely enrich those, support the district staff and meeting those needs appropriately. And children and families gain access to much needed medical services and supports, that immediate service and support where families aren't afraid to take their children to the doctor because they don't have insurance or other supports that they may need. So they just gain access. That's a huge benefit right in that moment to help them. And coordinating support efforts between families and the district that cultivates a positive community culture. When families in the community feel the school really cares about them and their children, that just lends itself to a much better working environment and communication, and just a whole positive community culture. So that's another benefit of being prepared to reach out to families and supply them with what they need to get connected to resources. And also, with more children who may become eligible for Medicaid, the district may experience an increase in Medicaid reimbursement funding, which can be utilized to hire and maintain highly skilled staff and or purchase specialized equipment for children in need. So again, those are all benefits from the outreach activity of trying to get the families who are in need connected to the services that they're eligible for. So it's definitely a win-win on both sides, and being a part of that and aware of that, and also meeting the regulations under the Administrative Outreach Guide is huge as well for districts. So here's just some resource links, and again, here's the application, that step-by-step guide. The main website to look at is this ABE website, the one that I had shown during the presentation. It's so beneficial there. But there's other ones here you can utilize when you're looking at developing support service connection for families. So that's there for your use. And that's it. So this is my contact information. If you have any questions at all regarding the webinar, feel free to reach out. And on behalf of the Embrace Company and the IAAC Medicaid Committee, again, I want to thank you so much for taking your time out today to participate in this webinar. Have a great afternoon.